Jesus, Jesus, Creator and Redeemer. Jesus, Jesus, Savior and Healer. So come, let us spread the good news all around that Jesus loves Uganda. So come, let us spread
Uganda, the pearl of Africa, a land richly endowed both naturally and culturally, a country which has seen a lot of hardship and change over the years. The Ugandan people have responded with courage and resilience, but are now facing an even greater challenge, the challenge of AIDS.
Who can this be who brings this light? Who has come to end all
Our
strife?
story is not about people with AIDS. It's about ordinary people like you who have made a response to the challenge, the kind of response that Jesus would have made. Kampala City, like Rome built on 7 hills, an ancient symbol of wealth, status, and prestige. It is encouraging today to witness the physical restoration of this beautiful city. But contrasting darkly with this is the devastating effect of the AIDS virus upon the community. It's a problem which permeates our society. You yourself may have lost a loved one through AIDS.
We believe that a church should be involved in holistic ministry. That is, not only do we want to reach and minister today or meet the spiritual needs of the people, but we also want to meet the physical needs and the social needs of the people. And so when we put up our building here in Agulabye, we were astounded by the fact that all around us, the people were so needy. And so the first thing we realized that was that the children were malnourished. And so we started a program, a meals program, where we brought in the malnourished children with their mothers and taught the mothers on how to prepare locally available food materials and yet nourishing. And then feed the children, show them how to feed the children and feed these children while they were watching in the church, and then let them take some food back to the village or to their homes, and our people will follow them to the village or to their homes to make sure that they are providing the food.
While working in the community, Baptist church workers came across an increasing number of children who were unable to attend school due to a lack of funding. KBC, in conjunction with Compassion International, started a catch-up school and a student center, where those who had fallen behind could take up their studies free of charge. The church had responded to a specific need, but daily contact with the children soon brought awareness of an even greater one. A number of children were losing their parents as a result of AIDS.
T and H. Made up of T and H, okay?
It was felt that unless the church could tackle this problem, they were not going to be of much lasting help to these children. One of the first actions was to form an AIDS committee to act as a think tank for the church and to plan its practical response to the presence of AIDS.
Whether it's possible for us to work out something with Harvest Ministry where we get part of the consignment for AIDS.
Following discussions, the church decided to launch a new project called A Cup of Cold Water, described here by its coordinator, Francis Mayinja.
The AIDS committee started up a ministry called The Cup of Cold Water. So this is, we give time to the people. Every Sunday we tell people what is happening, and people we go out and visit, and then we encourage them to bring whatever they can come with on Sunday, things which we usually use in our day-to-day life. Things like toilet paper, beans, soap, people bringing into us eggs, and things to cover yourself with. Sometimes they bring in blankets, but here we have sweaters and blouses, and sometimes even money.
Members of the congregation, like Jennifer Mukasa, are encouraged to participate in the visiting program. She's accompanied here by David Sempira.
We started out initially in a very small way, taking whatever we could to these people, standing by them in their times of trial, and even being with them at their time of death, burying them and comforting those who remain. The problems of AIDS is that it's an ongoing problem. And the people die who have AIDS, but the orphans remain. And we, as a church, are left with the problem of how to cater for these orphans. They've overwhelmed our extended family system because AIDS is bigger than anyone thought.
Faced with such an enormous and complex challenge, why do volunteers like Francis and co-worker Ivachi to keep going?
The reason why I'm really very much involved in this thing is because I've lost friends, and I've lost an uncle, a close uncle of mine, and a brother. So now I feel it's very near to me. I can't really avoid it. It can take any of us, it can take some next to my kin, anybody. So I just can't ignore it.
Working with needy people, I have learned that they're very demanding. They have different needs, and you feel like it is a hopeless situation, and I've seen hopeless situations become hopeful.
On that note of hope, we move on from Kampala Baptist Church. One of the devastating facts about AIDS is its indiscriminate presence throughout the Ugandan community, irrespective of sex, age, and geography. Whether you live in the city, rural, or urban environment, the people around you are living and dying with AIDS. To respond is to meet the need of your neighbor. Dr. Sister Miriam Duggan lives in Kamocha. Together with members of the Holy Trinity Church, she spends time visiting her neighbors in the local community. By reaching out to participate in this way, it is possible to bring hope and comfort to those in need. Dr. Duggan, gynecologist and longtime medical superintendent of Nsambya Hospital, recognizes the need for a dual approach to the AIDS problem.
I think the community response to AIDS should be twofold. That to prevent further spread of AIDS, and reaching out and caring and helping those who are already infected and sick. In the prevention aspect, it's imparting knowledge and sharing what we know with others who may not know, and also in running programs to bring about a change of behaviour within the community and within the individual. I'm glad to see you here after the last session on self-awareness. And today we hope to move on further into the real process so that we can bring about a change in behaviour. But first, let us just recap. What did the session on self-awareness about AIDS teach you or show you? Anybody like to tell me? Yes, Francis.
Actually, with me, it showed me fear. There is fear of the disease.
You're fearful of the disease. Anybody else learn anything else? Yes?
As part of these weekly youth meetings, there's the opportunity to discuss openly issues relating to sexuality and AIDS in single-sex groups.
Can we change behavior?
Sure, yes, change.
By thinking, every man has AIDS except your husband.
The two groups are reunited for an exchange of ideas and reactions. Another aspect of behavior change being addressed by the Kamocha group is through the encouragement of self-help projects for those suffering economic deprivation caused by AIDS.
Once you become involved in home care of patients with AIDS, you realize the magnitude of the problem and that there are many needs that need to be addressed as regards housing and rent and food for the family and care, that the medical aspect of it is only one small aspect. And so we've tried to address the total need for a family or a person who has AIDS. And in that respect, one of the big problems we found was that people who had lost their jobs were unable to pay rent. And we found people who were homeless because of the fact that they had AIDS, not because people didn't want them, but often because of the rent situation. So we decided to acquire a piece of land, and we have planned to start building some houses, just single-roomed houses, to accommodate some of these people who have become homeless because they have AIDS. And the youth are involved in clearing the land and in making bricks, and we hope soon that we will have some houses up that we will be able to help people who have been made homeless.
This is an encouraging sight, but there can also be discouragement for those working in an area so closely allied with death. Stories like that of Josephine provide a real boost.
I first met Josephine when she was very sick with pneumonia on one of the wards at the hospital. And she had more or less given up even the will to live because she was so sick. She had no relative and no friend, and she felt very much rejected and isolated. But we encouraged her not to give up, and we started befriending her and got some of the group to help and to encourage her and to pray with her. And she began to improve, and then when she was discharged from hospital, where she was, she didn't have much support. So we encouraged her to come and stay here within the Christian community. And there people reached out a lot and gave her support and help. And I think she valued and received so much love that she, in her turn, wanted other people who had AIDS or who were sick with AIDS to know that they were loved and that God loved them and that there were people who cared. And so she has now devoted all her time to telling other people and encouraging other people. And I think she's doing a wonderful work with many people, bringing them a message of hope and a message of love.
For those who have made a choice to join in the fight against AIDS, stories like this one represent real victories. There will be more stories like Josephine's if people like you make a commitment to take up the AIDS challenge. In the shadow of Mount Elgon at Mbale, Church of Uganda members David and Edith Wakumire are responsible for two community-based organizations. Edith helped set up Uganda Women's Concern Ministry in February 1990 after recognizing the need to reach people, and particularly women in the community, with information and instruction about issues like AIDS. A familiar sight in Bugisu is Edith and her visual aids communicating information which has become vital to the future well-being of the people. Each aspect of AIDS work has its unique challenge. Here, Edith's teaching focuses on various cultural practices which may make people